Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. Deadline day is coming up, so we have Fabrizio Romano on the show. Fabrizio, thank you for coming on. First and foremost, let's get straight into it. Manchester United, realistically, we need to bring someone else in. It's looking unlikely. What position do you think Manchester United could move for in the last few hours of the window coming up to deadline day?
I always mention midfielder as a possibility, but not something guaranteed, because at the moment there is absolutely nothing ongoing between Man United and any player or any midfielder. But as Erik Ten Hag always mentioned, in case there will be an opportunity in the final hours of the market, we have to keep an eye on it. But at the moment it's still quiet, so we can't guarantee that Man United will go for one more player. It will depend on some dominoes on some situations, but for sure I think the position could be midfielder. I don't see any other position to be covered for Manchester United at this point, so let's see. But really not easy at all, because for many clubs, not just for Man United, it's not easy to find opportunities on the market in January, at the end of the market, in the final days, and so it's unlikely, but let's keep an eye on United until the end.
Well, I've heard reports coming out that potentially because Eriksen's injured, it might force United's hand to maybe make a move. If United do go for a midfielder, which would be the most likely option, would you see it being a loan move?
Yes, I think it could be a loan, or in any case, some player on a very low terms, I would say. I don't see anything big happening. It was very clear at the beginning of the window. This was also the strategy for the whole window for the Glazers, as they're trying to sell the club as soon as possible. And so it's normal to keep this window quiet. They signed figures on loan, and this would be, I think, the focus. In case they find an opportunity on loan, that could be the case. Otherwise, they will stay with the same squad. So at the moment, there is still nothing imminent, and I wouldn't be surprised if Man United will keep the current squad.
Yeah, I think that seems to be the most likely option. A lot of fans have been talking about. I mean, it's one I think is very unlikely, but obviously Gravenberch went to Bayern Munich. He's not really seen many minutes. He's a player that did very well under Ten Hag, and he apparently is a bit disappointed with the amount of minutes he's getting. Could that be a potential option for Manchester United to go for, or do you think it's too late in the window to try and do a deal like that?
Look, at Bayern last week, when we had some rumors on a potential loan for Gravenberch to Premier League clubs, they were very clear in stating that they want to keep the player. They consider Gravenberch a crucial, important player for the second part of the season and for the future. They invested important money on Gravenberch, so they still want to protect the player. I'm told that it's true that there was a bit of disappointment on Gravenberch's side during the weekend, because he was expected to play in the starting 11 and then he didn't. So it's true that the player was not super happy with the situation, but from Bayern, the message is still the same. They want to keep the player, they want to trust the player. So let's see, but at the moment I think it's really complicated one, because they want to keep Gravenberch, they want to trust Gravenberch for the future, and so this is the state of the situation as of now. Not an easy one at all.
Yeah, and with Tielemans as well, obviously he's been a midfielder that we've talked about quite a lot. It would be a cut price because he's not signed his contract for Leicester. Is there any interest on Manchester United's behalf for Youri Tielemans? Because he's always been an option, but it hasn't seemed like Manchester United have been linked to him much.
No, they had some conversations with his agents, but not just Man United. We know Arsenal wanted him. Liverpool, I'm told, also last summer, in the final days of the summer transfer window, had some conversations. So it's normal to be informed of the situation of an important player like Tielemans, Premier League proven, who is available on a potential free transfer in the summer. So Man United are informed, but at the same moment, I think the fee would be an important fee for a last-minute move. So not an easy one, this one too. I don't see Leicester accepting any normal fee. They still want an important fee for Youri Tielemans. So at the moment, I think it's really complicated to sign Tielemans in the final hours of the market, also because there is some agents change around the player, and so this could be another factor. So this is why it's not that easy.
And then also, we spoke about Rabiot last time you were on the show. We talked about Juventus, obviously, the point deduction. And we were obviously in for Rabiot in the summer, and it kind of all fell apart. But he's obviously a midfielder that has been linked to Manchester United. Obviously, Erik Ten Hag kind of gave the green light on that. Would he be someone that we'd be looking to bring in? He had a very good World Cup, and he's had a good season so far. Or are Juventus still on the same wavelength where no one's going to leave?
Yes, but I'm sure that Rabiot is not leaving in the final hours of the market. For Juventus, is a crucial player, so they are not letting him go in January. Also, so many rumors, but Rabiot, from what I'm told, is 100% staying at Juventus in January. Then we have to see in the summer, because the reality is that the player dreams of Premier League. From what I'm told, is really concrete, the possibility for Rabiot to leave Juventus on a free and try a Premier League experience. As you mentioned, Erik Ten Hag is a big fan, and as I always say, we have to give him some credit, because in the probably most difficult period of the career of Adrien Rabiot 1 year ago, a really complicated moment, he was not doing so well with Juventus. Erik Ten Hag wanted him, so he was seeing the potential of this boy, and then he had a great first part of the season with Juventus, a great World Cup with France. So now it's completely different feeling around Adrien Rabiot. The point is about the player, how much he's going to ask. Because last summer, the deals collapsed between Man United and Rabiot because of the salary requests that were really important requests. Let's see now what happens. If Rabiot will keep saying that he wants important money, or if he'll accept something normal. We have to see in the next months. But at the moment, it's not something for January. It's not something for deadline day. From what I'm told, it's something for the summer, but not just for Man United. There are like 2-3 clubs in England keen on signing Rabiot, so it could be an interesting one to follow.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one when we move to the summer anyway. So just to kind of round up on the midfielders, at this moment in time, obviously we know anything can change in the last few hours of a window. It's happened before, but at this moment in time, Man United aren't discussing a deal for any midfielder.
Yes, at the moment, no. At the moment, no. There is still, of what I'm aware, I'm not into the board. So from what I'm told, at the moment, nothing is advanced. It's normal to have some calls with agents to be informed on situations, but at the moment, nothing is advanced. But we know how on deadline day, things can change in 5 minutes. We saw, for example, to give you an example and give the sense on how things can change. In the summer, Chelsea, 5 p.m. in the afternoon, they were not even in talks to sign Zakaria. 7 p.m., the deal was done. So it takes 2 hours, 1 hour in the deadline day to reach an agreement. Same with Liverpool with Artur Melo. So sometimes it's really easy to complete something, but depends on the opportunity. Man United want to make sure that if they bring in another player in January, it has to be something with a sense and not just to bring in one more player just because they need. So this is the idea, and this will be the strategy. But at the moment, nothing is advanced yet.
I thought you would be. I thought you would be on the board. You seem to know everything. I'm joking, but no. Moving on to actually one of our players, which is Anthony Elanga. You've reported this quite a few times. I saw you again put it out there this morning about him having multiple offers for a loan from different clubs, PSV, Dortmund, etc. Does it look like Manchester United will allow Elanga to go out on loan, and where do you think the most likely destination for him going to be?
At the moment, it's still a no from Man United. The situation is not easy. Because from what I understand, Elanga's priority would be Borussia Dortmund, but PSV and Eindhoven are really pushing and offering the best terms to Manchester United. Also, other clubs, as I mentioned, there are almost 10 bids for Anthony Elanga, because, for example, also Roma are informed on the situation in case Zaniolo leaves, but at the moment he's not leaving. Or to mention another club, I'm told also Leipzig are informed on the situation of Elanga. So many clubs moved to sign him on loan, but at the moment, still no green light from Manchester United. The player is also waiting. The agents are waiting. Pellistri, for example, at the moment, it's a no too. So let's see what Man United will decide in the final hours, but at the moment, still no green light. PSV are offering the best terms to Manchester United as of now.
Yeah, I was just actually going to mention that as well on Pellistri. He obviously was pushing for a move quite a lot. His agents were as well, frustrated with the lack of game time. But Erik ten Hag kind of hinted that he would be staying at the club and give him a little bit more game time to kind of insinuate that in his press conference. So will Pellistri definitely be staying as well? It seems like Erik ten Hag wants to keep him now.
Yes, this is the idea. This is the idea because he's doing very well in training. They're very happy with him. Also, I'm told that there is a possibility they will discuss a new contract with Pellistri in the next months. We know that Man United are busy with many contract talks, but Pellistri could be one of the next ones to discuss. And so, yes, there is a chance for him to stay because he's doing very well in training. Ten Hag is really happy with him. The coaching staff really excited with the progress of this boy. He was with Uruguay at the World Cup, and this was an important step for him also to get some international experience. So Man United are convinced that he can be an important player in the second part of the season to help, especially in Europe, but also, of course, in the domestic competition. So this is the idea around Pellistri. Also for him, many proposals because Flamengo wanted him. Valencia made the best proposal to sign Pellistri. In Italy, Bologna, Sassuolo, Serie A clubs, but from Man United it was a no. So this is the state of the situation at the moment.
Yeah, it's hard to get some of our players out of United sometimes, but it's a good thing. I quite like Pellistri and I hope he does well. You can definitely see the development there with him. But apparently, Luckhurst was reporting that Man United have put a list of players together for the summer to potentially be sold because obviously we've got this situation where we want to spend money, but financial fair play and stuff like that. And Erik ten Hag is willing to sell some players. And apparently as well, Harry Maguire has been linked to Inter Milan, which I find hard to believe, but that has been the news put out there. And apparently he's going to assess his options at the end of the summer. Have you got any news on players that might be on the way out of leaving Manchester United? And is Harry Maguire one of them names?
From what I'm told, at the moment, for January, nothing. So we had many rumors about Aston Villa, West Ham, Inter, but Man United never had the intention to let him leave. They want him to stay, to be part of the squad for the second part of the season. And then at the end of the season, they will decide together. Maguire is very serious, he's very professional, so he's never going to create any problem. I'm sure he will have a conversation at the end of the season with Erik ten Hag, of course, with his agents to decide with Manchester United the best way to go. I would not be surprised if in the summer they will try to bring a proposal and so sell Harry Maguire. But at the moment, really, nothing is advanced. I also saw these links with Inter, but I'm told Inter are busy with other players, including Merih Demiral from Atalanta. So it's not a priority for them now to go for any player from Manchester United. They wanted a centre-back from Manchester United, but was Victor Lindelof, because Inter had the conversations on player side, on club side. For Manchester United, they took 2-3 days to decide, but then Erik ten Hag and the board decided together to say no. So Lindelof is not leaving. Atletico Madrid asked for him early January, Inter in the final days of the market, but for Manchester United, no way, Lindelof is staying.
Yeah, it's good to actually have interest in our players. We've not really had that much interest in a while, but that's what happens, I suppose, when players are playing well. And I did find it quite confusing that Inter Milan, it was Lindelof and then it turned into Maguire this afternoon, which is confusing. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Maguire leaves. And on players potentially leaving, is there anyone that could we see leaving this window? I mean, I heard Matt Ogden potentially talking about Axel Tuanzebe could be leaving for a fee before deadline day. Have you heard anything about that?
Yes, this could be a possibility. They're exploring options in different countries, in England, in Italy, in France. So they are talking to clubs to find a possibility for Tuanzebe. This is one of the names we have to watch until the end of the market. And then I think it's going to be pretty quiet on the outgoings. As I mentioned, Manchester United want to go with the same squad. I think we have to follow Elanga until the end, because on the Elanga case, the player position is also important. He wants to play, and this is an important part of the story. But we know how important is Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag wants to make sure he has the final decision on everything, also on Anthony Elanga. And so this is why at the moment there is still no green light. I think without Erik ten Hag, there was a very good chance for him to go, and also for Pellistri. With Ten Hag, it's different. He wants to make sure that he's the best option for the player, but also the best option for Manchester United. And so this is why sometimes it's not that easy to get a proposal for Man United players. But Tuanzebe has a possibility to go, yes.
Yeah, I think Erik ten Hag's got his eye on all 4 competitions, and he just doesn't want to have the lack of squad, which is very understandable. And lastly, Brandon Williams, is he going to be staying with the squad as well? Because we were talking about potential loan for Brandon Williams, but it seems like them rumours have died down a little bit.
Yes, at the moment the situation is quiet. Let's see on the deadline day if something will happen, but at the moment the situation is quiet around him. I would not be surprised if at the end he stays with the squad until the end of the season, and then maybe next season he could go on loan to play. But let's see, because these are kind of names that maybe on deadline day the situation could change. But for Manchester United, they are really relaxed with the squad they have. And again, I think Brandon Williams is one to watch on deadline day, but as we are speaking, nothing is advanced.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right with Williams. I've not really seen anything come out, but you never know what could happen. And then I wanted to kind of move on. Obviously, we talked about January. I wanted to talk about maybe a deal that potentially could happen in the summer. We spoke about it last time. Harry Kane. Ogden put out there that Man United are front runners for Harry Kane in the summer and are likely to try and sign the player if he doesn't extend his contract. And apparently he's the number one choice. We have a lot of fans wanting Osimhen. We have a lot of fans wanting Kane. Is there any updates surrounding Harry Kane, and is he on the list for Man United in the summer?
So what we can say is that Tottenham will have new conversations in February, March, April with Harry Kane to extend the contract. So Tottenham are not giving up. Tottenham will try to extend his contract. They really want to keep the player. So I think it's going to be really difficult to sign Harry Kane in the summer again. But let's see how these contract conversations will go. What is sure is that Manchester United appreciate Harry Kane. I think this is not new. Also Bayern, for example, appreciate Harry Kane. Many clubs would love to sign him. But at the moment, there is absolutely nothing advanced. So Man United are not in advanced conversation on player side. They're not in conversations at all with Tottenham. So this is something that is really too early to mention. And for Tottenham, the priority is to speak to Harry Kane and to extend the contract as soon as possible. So this is the general situation around Kane. Then we know in the summer, Manchester United will go for an important striker. I think there will be a list with many players included. Let's see, for example, what happens with Vlahovic, what happens with Sesko, what happens with Victor Osimhen, who is doing incredible in Serie A with Napoli. So I think there will be many potential candidates, but it's not now the time to decide, also because we know the club is for sale. And so let's see how much they want to invest in the summer on a new striker in case they will have new owners as we expect. So there are many factors. Also, for example, if they will do some change in the board, because when you change in the board and maybe new people in charge of transfers, it could mean that they will do with a different kind of strategy, of course, together with Erik ten Hag on the striker. So there are many factors before saying, okay, he's the player Man United will go and try to sign in the summer. For example, last summer they wanted Darwin Núñez. I think they will go for that kind of profile. So a traditional number 9, a proper number 9, a player who can score a lot of goals, because this is a crucial addition for Erik ten Hag.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what Manchester United need. And lastly, before you go, I know you probably don't know an update on this, but I thought I'd ask you anyway. Obviously, like you said, a lot of changes at the club. The Glazers potentially, well, they are going to sell the club. Do you think that, from what, have you heard anything surrounding when that could potentially be done by?
No, it's really difficult to say when, because there are conversations, private conversations with many groups. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but also other groups are interested in buying Manchester United. So for sure the conversations are ongoing. Let's see when. At the moment, it's too complicated to say when, but the process is ongoing. So for sure, it's something that is expected to be completed as soon as possible. I would mention to allow Manchester United to plan for the transfer strategy for the next summer. So as soon as possible.
Yeah, Man United sale, here we go, will be a big one. But thank you. Thank you, Fabrizio, for coming on. And yeah, let's enjoy deadline day and hopefully some deals will happen. But we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot as
Thank
always.
you.
And see you
Bye.
soon. Thank you.
Well, guys, that was Fabrizio Romano talking all things deadline day and transfers. As I expected, not too much to say, but there was a little bit in there. Do you know what it is? At this moment in time, is if anyone tuned into the morning show, I was talking about potential deals, potential loans, and a lot of people were frustrated because there wasn't any breaking news surrounding Manchester United signing a player. But this is the thing. We've just spoke to Fabrizio Romano, who is very well informed and knows everything that's going on, especially at this point in the window with deadline day just around the corner. And he said at this moment in time, and Morano will be well informed. He's well informed, probably minutely by different contacts that he has. At this moment in time, Man United are not looking at signing anyone in the window, and this is frustrating to me because Erik ten Hag has said in his press conferences, he has said in recent interviews, Manchester United are waiting to strike, that he wants to look to get somebody else in. Of course, we need squad depth. Of course, we need to get players in. So Erik ten Hag is basically begging for Manchester United to go and get someone, and it's just not happening. And like Romano said then, it's very, very difficult to do these deals late on in a window. Like right now, 24 hours, just over 24 hours to go. And Man United probably have no idea what they're doing. Eriksen could be injured for all we know for quite a few weeks. I heard reports coming out that Eriksen could be injured up to 4 weeks. This is the problem when you don't bring someone in and you don't plan your business accordingly. Now, if Eriksen's out and we can't manage to get another midfielder in time before the deadline, that is very, very worrying. Ten Hag can say he's happy with his squad. He has said that, and the squad is good, but there's no depth to it. There's a reason why we're playing our strongest 11 in every single competition. And of course, it's because Erik ten Hag wants to go for all of the cups and wants to win everything. But it's because he can't really afford to rotate because there's not much there. You look at the bench, and I love seeing youth players come through, but it's unfair to put the weight on their shoulders this immediately coming into the team. It's like Kobe Mainoo, who only just came on the scene a few months ago. He's now a first team player and he's regularly in the squad, and that is good. But one more injury and he could find himself starting in the starting 11. That's how close we are with this midfield depth, especially with Donny and Eriksen out. So the fact we're not looking at anybody, it's very worrying to me. It's very worrying. And Mech Elvis says, last season the squad down tools. This year it's the board. Erik ten Hag is being hung out to dry. Well, I think last time it was both, to be honest with you, because we desperately needed signings last January and we didn't do anything at all either. So it's like, I was saying it on the morning show, it's like Manchester United don't understand what a January is. They don't understand that the window is actually open. They don't understand that right now we could be signing players, we could be strengthening our team. I mean, Arsenal just put in another bid, 75 million for Moises Caicedo. I get that their owners aren't selling, I get that. But they backed Arteta in the summer, they've backed him again in January, they've backed him with strength as well. They'll end up spending over 100 million in a January transfer window. Chelsea's a different story. It's a different kettle of fish. That ambition is crazy, especially when they're in 10th. They're trying to do something about it. I mean, even Spurs tried to get Pedro Porro over the line. That's kind of reverted back. Even Liverpool, people keep saying Glazers are selling. They're not going to spend any money. Even Liverpool spent 40 million on Gakpo. They give Klopp something. You could argue that Liverpool should have gone for a midfielder instead. You could argue that all day long, but they're still giving 40 million to spend. Erik ten Hag with 40 million this January, he could get somebody in that would really improve this squad. But the max we can get is 3 million for a striker. It is honestly unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Someone said they're in a title race though. We're in 4 cup competitions in a race to get top 4. Top 4 in Champions League is crucial. Do you know what I would think as well with the Glazers selling? Surely with the Glazers selling, you would want top 4 guaranteed because obviously it makes you a more appetizing prospect to potential buyers. But it is frustrating. It's frustrating. Yes, someone just said that Arteta missed out on so many top targets. This is really annoying because this girl knows nothing. Arteta missed out on many top targets. Arteta did miss out on top targets, yes, because their board drew the line when they knew they were overpaying, but they got suitable replacements in. Erik ten Hag has literally been given 3 million for Wout Weghorst, and that is it. That is it. They didn't want to pay 100 million for Mudryk, so they spent 30 on Trossard. They still got a player in. They still got somebody in for Arteta. It's honestly so frustrating. It's like, honestly, anything in this window. I was saying 15 million for Tielemans. It's something. Rabiot, try and get him out. Rabiot wants to come to the Premier League. That's what Romano was just saying. Then I'll move on to that. Rabiot could be one for the summer, guys, and I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if that happened. You know, the more that Romano started talking about it, the more I could kind of think about Rabiot coming back into them talks and maybe coming to the Prem. We know Erik ten Hag was very interested in the summer. Talks broke down because his mother wanted quite a lot of money paid to him weekly on the weekly wage, and Man United didn't do it, and rightly so. At the time, I don't think he'd really proved anything. He wasn't too exciting. I think he's 27, might be 28 now, and he wasn't exciting whatsoever. Like he wasn't an exciting target. And I'm so happy that deal collapsed and we ended up getting Casemiro, because Casemiro is just an absolute unbelievable player. But one thing I will say is Rabiot has got ability. Erik ten Hag really likes him. Romano just confirmed that as well. He was great in the World Cup, I have to say. I was very, very impressed by him. And he's had a very, very good season for Juventus as well. So there actually is a player there. So keep an eye on that for the summer is what I would say. But at the same time, we know Erik ten Hag's absolutely obsessed with Frankie de Jong, and that deal kind of saga will continue. But also remember, guys, which is what we spoke about just before, Samuel Luckhurst put out there that Man United and Erik ten Hag are getting a list together of players they can sell to make money in order to be able to buy players in the summer. At this moment in time, because of the amount of money that we owe on transfers for over the years, because we've structured deals like this where, for example, like if we paid 90 million for Anthony, we'll pay that installments over the course of years upon years. So it all adds up when it comes to financial fair play. Because of the amount of money that we owe, this summer is going to be a struggle to get as many players in as we want. We've still got money to spend, obviously, but the main priority for Manchester United is a striker. So that's where the money's going to go. So don't be surprised when you're expecting a De Jong and you're expecting an Enzo Fernandez, even a Caicedo, if he doesn't go to Arsenal. Don't be surprised if we end up with Rabiot because it is the cheaper alternative. Don't be surprised at that, because we, at this moment in time, especially if we don't sell, which we're not too great at doing anyway, we haven't got the money with financial fair play to get in a top striker that's going to be 100 million as well as the top midfielder. It just won't happen. So keep your eyes on the likes of Rabiot, because I definitely think there could be a deal to be done there. Wants to come to the Premier League. Erik ten Hag likes him, been linked in the past. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. And yeah, a lot of people get in the chat. I know it's not Manchester United, but João Cancelo to Bayern Munich. That is a little bit crazy. Pep's lost his head this season. I saw a tweet earlier actually that was like, Pep really meant it when he said he didn't want to win the Prem this year. And I don't see it like that. What I personally think's happened, and this is a good thing I do think about top clubs. If someone came to Pep and said, I don't want to play anymore, I don't want to be here anymore, he would say, all right, see you later. And people can speak about Bernardo Silva. He never explicitly, when he didn't want to play, he talked about moving in the past, but he's always given his all on the pitch for Man City. So it's kind of a different situation. But what I think with João Cancelo is, obviously, for me, been one of the best fullbacks in the world for a few years now. Has had a tough season this season. Not tough, but he's just not been as good as he was. And obviously after the World Cup, he just kind of got frozen out by Pep. Rico Lewis has been playing. He's probably said, Pep, why is Rico Lewis playing over me? Can I have more minutes? Pep said no. João Cancelo said, I want to leave. He said, see you later. I don't know if I'm in full agreement with it, but top managers want players that are 100% committed to the squad and to the project. And if João Cancelo wasn't, then you can understand why he wants to go. He might actually win a Champions League now, guys. Watch Man City win the Champions League this year now. But no, honestly, I think it's a good move for João Cancelo. It's a shocking one. I was very, very surprised. If I was a City fan, I'd be gutted, because they don't really have much cover at fullbacks. It's a weird thing with Man City fullbacks. It's like they have Walker, who's injured, Rico Lewis, who's very young. He looks good, but he's very young. Gomez, who is just he's absolutely awful. Anyone else? They've definitely just not got enough depth there. That's the one place I'd say City don't really have enough depth. So it's an interesting one. It really, really is. But no, back to Manchester United. It's a joke. I've said it before. It's a joke that we've been given this window is 3 million. Erik ten Hag is working absolute wonders, and all credit to him. That first team, when you put the first team on paper, by the way, it's very good. Like, our first team on paper is very good, but anything apart from that, it's a huge, huge drop off. 100% Fred can come into that midfield the way he's been playing under Erik ten Hag and do a very good job. Then you look to bring players off the bench. There's no one there. There's no one there apart from youth players that I want to eventually progress and do well, but don't have the experience or are not ready to come into this first team right now. So it's so frustrating that we're having such a good season and Erik ten Hag's kind of just limited in this window. I keep going on about it, but it really is. Like, imagine if Erik ten Hag had the backing that some other clubs have had this window. I think we'd be comfortably in the top 4, comfortably. So it's just frustrating, everybody. But yeah, let's talk about Anthony Elanga. I spoke about him a little bit on the morning show as well. Anthony Elanga, PSV are offering the best terms to Manchester United, and we know Manchester United like the money, so I won't be surprised if he goes there. But Erik ten Hag, and this I thought was a really interesting point, actually. Man United might have let Elanga go, they might have let Palestri go, but Erik ten Hag has said no. Erik ten Hag wants depth, and he's also seen something in Palestri that he really, really likes in training. This is why he's been getting more minutes. We saw he really had to wait a very long time to get his debut. Seems like Erik ten Hag didn't really fancy him, but as of late, I think with his manager, if you show him something, he will definitely give you an opportunity. Erik ten Hag pointed out 2 of his crosses in post-match press conferences after 2 of the cup games. One that got the assist to Rashford, where he scored that goal. I think that was against Charlton. And then the second one where Wout Weghorst should have scored it, I think, when he put that cross in, and Erik ten Hag said it was one of the best chances of the game. So Erik ten Hag picks up on these things. Obviously, he's a top coach. He's seen something in Palestri, he's seen something in training where he wants to keep it on. And I've been a big Palestri fan. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I have. I honestly have. I've been saying I really like Palestri for a while. He offers something different. Ricky would say he's a right-footed right winger. He can get crosses into the box. He's quick. He's fast. He's got good feet. He actually knows how to play on the wing. He's massively raw and definitely needs nurturing into the first team. But he's been playing for Uruguay, international football. When he first came in the under-23s, he looked very good. I think there's definitely a player there. So I'm glad that he's staying. And with Elanga, I would let him go on loan. I have to be honest. That's one thing I don't agree with Erik ten Hag on. We'll see if he does end up going. Fabrizio said he could end up leaving in the last hours of the window. If I'm Elanga, I'm desperate to play football. I'm desperate to show why I should either be going to another club, getting sold, or whether I can play for Manchester United. Sitting on Man United's bench week in, week out, I don't think is good for anyone. Having a 5-10 minute cameo where the game's basically done, I just don't think it's good for anyone, especially considering he's now playing up front when he comes on, which isn't because we've got depth in the wide areas. He's now been put up front because of his pace. Realistically, with Elanga, I think that if we do keep him, the only reason we'll be keeping him is because of his raw pace that can be used on counter-attacks. If we're in a game and we need to counter-attack and you don't have the likes of Rashford, that's the only kind of quality I can see him bringing to the squad in the second half of the season with the amount of players we've got that are of a high quality. So I'd let him go. I think at PSV, he'll be able to have time to kind of play football, improve his craft, just learn. Playing football is so good for you to learn. And if he goes to Dortmund, we know how good they are at developing talent. I mean, look at Cody Gakpo. He was ripping it up at PSV. Comes to Liverpool in the Premier League. Zero goal contributions. It's a different kettle of fish out there, and it'll be easier for a younger player to learn, gain confidence, and adapt. So I would want Elanga to go out on loan. But honestly, guys, we'll be here on deadline day tomorrow. But I don't think we'll be getting anyone in. I don't. I hope to God we do. I really hope we do, but I just don't see it happening. I don't see how Man United, because of I know how badly that board operates. And I'm not talking about Eric Ten Hag. Eric Ten Hag is amazing. I'm talking about the people that negotiate the transfers and maneuver the transfers. I don't see us scouting, getting, and negotiating a cheap or loan deal within the space of just over 24 hours. I just don't see Man United doing it, but I hope we do. I mean, we spoke about Gravenberch with Romano as well. Gravenberch, that is a deal that we could have done earlier in the window. I'm not convinced of it, but the way Romano was talking about it, he's not really been happy. Bayern want to keep him, but Gravenberch wants minutes. If we would have maybe explored that deal earlier on in the window, there could have been a possibility to negotiate to get Gravenberch to kind of push for that. Just not happened because we just this board doesn't think on their feet. I'm sure there's plenty of players that Eric Ten Hag has put to Man United and they've gone too expensive, Eric. No, their agents want to meet on the weekends, Eric. I have them days off. No, we've only got free transfers to negotiate with Eric, so no, can't pay any fees. We already got you Wout Weghorst, Eric. That took up nearly the whole window. We had to negotiate with 2 clubs. Like, can we just chill out a little bit here, Eric? I'm sure there's many conversations like that have happened, but it's frustrating. Roll on the new board, roll on the new owners is what I would say. Honestly, but Axel Tuanzebe might be going out. I think he needs to leave. He's not getting any minutes here. Injury prone. Get the money in while we can. And do you know what? The one thing that we can look forward to is there will be a little bit of change in the squad coming to the summer, because Eric Ten Hag's ready to ship people off in order to get people in, and I'm all for it. We love the ruthlessness. He's seen what he needs to see, and Luckhurst reporting as well that he's put a list together of players that could go, and Maguire could be part of that. He seems to like Lindelof. He relies on Lindelof. He wants to keep Lindelof as part of the squad. We'll see what happens with Maguire. Maguire's obviously going to fight for his place, and his professionalism, Romano's talk about, is always undoubted. He is clearly a professional player. He'll fight to get back into his team, but realistically, when it gets to the summer and he sits down to himself and thinks, do I want to play first team football? All players would, I assume, say yes. And he seems like a player that wants to play first team football. Am I going to get in over Varane or Martinez? No, it's not going to happen. And Lindelof is, I feel like he's that rotational centre back that Manchester United can utilise. So I see Maguire go in, Williams potentially in the summer as well, but he's going to stay now. And you never know, some other people might go out the door. I mean, Scott McTominay is one that's been linked to Newcastle as well. Need a midfielder to come in. Scott McTominay linked to Newcastle for 30 mil. There's some money that can be put towards a new midfielder. But look, guys, thank you so much for joining on these interviews. We get the best information that we possibly can out of Romano. And at the end of the day, can't make things up. Like, it is what it is. And he did say we could move in the last few hours of the window for a midfielder. So keep your fingers crossed. And let's hope we do so. And let's hope Eric Ten Hag can keep this kind of vein of form going. He has been a revelation these first 6 months. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in for the interview. Make sure you get your comments in as well. I really like reading the comments. Constructive, positive, who you would want to sign, what we should do in the summer, Osman or Kane. Get your comments in down below. Make sure you give it a big like, because we really appreciate that as well. Subscribe, all of that stuff. But thanks for joining me, guys. Everyone in the comments has been amazing, and we'll see you on the next one.